What's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we'll be talking about why you need to leave the house in order to meet your girlfriend or girls in general. This really came as an idea from my most recent consultation call, where the messages that I get from you. So please keep sending it, guys. I love it and I try my best to respond. It's this whole idea of we never have to leave our house to do anything. And I think with the prevalence and rise of dating apps, everyone's in the comfort of their own homes just swiping. And I feel like we lack human interaction. And I feel like a lot of the things we do post-pandemic is by yourself. Everyone seems to be working from home. You have Amazon Prime, you have Uber Eats, and you can get everything delivered to your front door without you ever having to step foot outside. And I feel like this is such a dangerous thing. I feel like with the self-improvement and the conditions that we grew up and lived in for the past 3 years has really changed the way we actually think. I feel like the whole idea of meeting people, your first instance is going online, going on phone, going to your social media. Instead of hanging out with people in real life, you replace that social interaction with social media. You go on and you just FaceTime your friend, or you shoot a text, or you send a couple likes on Instagram, and you think and you trick your brain into thinking that this is real human life. And I feel like this isn't really healthy. I feel like pre-pandemic, there was an urge, there was an interaction with the outside world that was very important. And I feel like right now we are so isolated. I feel like after the pandemic, we all feel like we took a huge break from our social lives. And now we're in the stages of rebuilding. And I feel like things haven't really been the same. I feel like there's this idea of improving by yourself, which is super beautiful. I think there's a lot of beauty in taking the time and bathing your aloneness and working your shit out, working on your financials, working on your health, working on whatever, your endeavors. But I feel like we all have this idea of like, I can't meet this girl, I can't meet friends, I can't meet anyone. And during my client calls, I ask them like, what are you doing that actually involves others? Are you putting yourself out there? Are you increasing the odds of running into someone by having awesome hobbies that you enjoy? An example is I feel like a lot of my clients, they say they have a really hard time meeting people, but then I ask them, what are you doing in your free time? And I'm like, well, if you're working or you're doing your hobbies, why can't you go to a public place like a park or a coffee shop? Or if you're gonna do yoga, go to a group yoga event, or go to a group workout, or go to a group dance event. You know, these are things that you truly enjoy, right? Whatever hobby you have, allow it to involve others, because now you're sharing a hobby with people you actually enjoy that have a similar interest. And that reduces the superficial conversations because you're doing something you actually enjoy. And that's the most important thing, is finding something you enjoy and finding community and something that involves other people and going outside of your house. I know, guys, I know how difficult it is to work your job, your day job, and you come home and you just want to relax and sit there. And I think there's some beauty in that, but don't keep doing that 4 or 5 days in a row and be like, I don't have any friends. I understand social anxiety is difficult and it's arduous, but you have to put yourself out there, because after a certain point you get so tired of being by yourself that aloneness becomes loneliness. And I feel like that's a terrible, terrible feeling, because now you feel like you're lacking community. And social isolation will have devastating effects on your physical and mental health. It's been scientifically proven. We are human beings. We need a community. We need friends. We need to go in social environments. And every time I'm having a really hard day or week and I hang out with my friends, man, do I feel so much fucking better. It's almost as if like I realize that I'm not alone and there are people out there that'll have my back no matter what. And taking the time to develop these friendships really took a lot of time. When I moved to the East Coast, I really didn't have friends or family. And this was during the peak of the pandemic. So trust me, bars closed at 10. You weren't really allowed to go to like group events without the 6 feet social distancing and a mask. And it was just really fucking awkward. But I feel like those restrictions have been lifted. So what I would recommend is go outside of your house, find something that involves the community and others, and choose a hobby or interest that you actually enjoy. Don't try to fake it. Okay? And if there are new hobbies you want to try, go ahead and do those things, right? And obviously interest grows with time. And if there's something that doesn't really work for you, then no. I feel like we get confused with the idea of trying to meet people, gets confused with the idea of going to bars and clubbing. Something that involves alcohol. I'm not saying alcohol isn't necessarily good, it isn't, but there's some perks of it. Like for example, if you really enjoy wine and you go to a wine event, a wine tasting event or a wine bar, and you talk to the bartender and the other people there about the flavors and tannins about that wine, or even going to a brewery, I mean, that's a really fun collective environment, right? Usually people bring friends and people are just so happy at these places. But I feel like If you solely rely on going to bars as your means of interacting with people, man, that's a really difficult thing because I feel like a lot of people confuse their drinking buddies as legitimate friends. And my friend said this and it was really, really true. I feel like a lot of modern day friendships are just drinking buddies. I feel like a lot of people that we hang out with, it usually involves alcohol. You know, if you graduate college, I mean, it's so focused on booze and getting drunk. And I feel like you can have a great time with anyone if you're drinking, right? But remove the alcohol and what's left. So that's something that I really, really would urge you to think and evaluate in your own life. Meeting people doesn't have to be exclusive to the bars and clubs. If you're new to town, you're getting dinner and you have a glass of wine or beer and you're at the bar just talking because you just want to go out in public, I think that's completely okay. I think going to happy hour events after work is super important if you're new to a city. But you don't have to go and get drunk. You can have a singular drink, and happy hour also involves food. You can go out there and get the happy hour deals for food and realize that like there are also young professionals that are single that are trying to find friends. This is a really, really common thing that's happening right now. Ever since COVID, like people really just miss human interaction and people want to meet people, right? And trying to find that is obviously difficult and it's very nuance. It's very different for me and you. Depending on your location, depending on your income, depending on where you live, it is completely different. But I promise you, there might be one thing, you can't tell me there's not one thing that you truly enjoy that you can't find a group event for. You know, if you like even playing something nerdy and dorky like Magic the Gathering or Dungeons and Dragons, that's okay. Go find a group to do it with. There's usually meetup.com, Eventbrite, Facebook groups, or just Google and message people if they want to meet up in person. You got to put yourself out there. I feel like a lot of us complain saying we have a difficulty trying to meet people, but we actually haven't taken tangible, legitimate steps to meet people. I always ask my clients when they're saying I'm struggling with human interaction and social interaction, I'm like, well, what are you doing? And they're like, well, I feel like everyone I talk to is kind of fake. And I'm like, okay, how many people have you talked to this week? How many times have you approached someone while you're doing something? How many times have you talked to your coworker? How many times have you asked your coworkers to go to a happy hour, hang out on the weekend? Or how many times have you been in a yoga class or a group event, asked people if they want to hang out? And I feel like a lot of us are like, well, we would talk to one person, they seem superficial and fake. And I'm like, guys, look, you can't have an in-depth intellectual conversation right off the bat usually. If you do, that's amazing, but that's not the standard, guys. I feel like that takes time, right? I feel like a lot of relationships actually take time to build. And I feel like it's the same thing with women, guys. You have to go out there, put yourself on the line and interact with people and find hobbies that you enjoy so you put yourself in a situation where you can increase the odds of running into someone. But when that opportunity comes, you better fucking say hi, okay? You better go introduce yourself and just have a conversation. I'm not going into the specifics of that because, guys, you have to make it genuine. And sometimes it's awkward, but you have to live and learn. Life is the greatest teacher. But you have to go put yourself out there. And I'm always thinking like, look, some people might be superficial, you're not hitting it off. Or there might be people who don't want to open up to you yet because you are a stranger. I feel like we put so much emphasis on deep, genuine, intimate conversations with strangers. And I'm like, I'm not saying that can't happen. It does. But you have to realize that you are also viewed as a stranger. And that takes time. And put the time and effort in building relationships. And obviously, if you're hanging out with someone and things aren't clicking, I think it's completely okay to be like, okay, there might not be anything here. But with that being said, you have to go move on and find other people to hang out with. Because just because one doesn't work, you have to keep on going. And you keep on going till you have friends. And it takes time and it's lonely and it's fucking difficult. But if you're truly not happy with your life, you have to put yourself out there. You have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And this starts with getting outside of your house. I feel like once you're in your own house, you get too comfortable, okay? Nothing great was ever achieved in comfort. And there's nothing wrong with once you have friends, you can bring your friends over to your house and hang out. Completely acceptable. But you can't expect someone to knock on your fucking door and be like, hey, let's be best friends. Be my boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. No, that's not real, okay? Like in the same way as a guy, I'm not thinking anyone's going to show up at my door. Like girls are probably thinking the same thing. And I bet you there's legitimate quality people out there who just moved to a new city trying to find people like you. But that's the problem. It's hard. And the only way to do it is searching. And otherwise, like, I get it. Focus on yourself. I think there's an importance of going monk mode and being like, look, I'm not ready to date. I need to focus on my career, my education, my mission, my health. That's cool. But once you're in it for a while, you have to get out of it and be like, cool, I've got my shit together, right, to like a good level. And it's time to go and meet people. Because I think there's importance of being alone to figure out your stuff. Eventually, you have to get out of that mode. You can't be in monk mode forever. And if that makes you happy, cool. But for me, I have to get out and interact with people. I'm very social, and I like to have human interactions. So really think about that, guys, and realize if there's something you're doing alone, can you do it outside in a public place? If you're drawing, go to a coffee house. Go to something like that. Or sign up for events. But increase the odds of interacting with great people and put yourself in the right place, because I bet you the opportunity will show up. If you want to talk about this further, please set up a one-on-one consultation. It's quite affordable. Please email me at bedroomtalksconsult@gmail.com. If you want to see what I'm up to in my life, follow me on Instagram at m.deep20. Everything's in the description below. As always, I wish you the best. Namaste.